Hello, folks. Welcome back to Learn Synthesis with Pure Data. I'm your host, Dr. Lawrence W. Moore. This episode is Series 2, Episode 7. And in the previous episode, we started making a virtual tape looper. Even though this is the digital world, we made a sample recorder and playback device using some of the prior patching we've done in episodes in the past as a little bit of a quicker way of doing it. And in this one, we've made something that can speed up and slow down like a tape player and tape recorder so that you can basically get some pitch control. You have the looping option. And today we're going to learn how to set up loop start and end points so that you can have the sound start and then loop between 2 points in the middle before you release it, and it'll go to the release portion. This shows how the whole looping for sustain features in sampling works. But we're going to be looking at it from a constructive, construction standpoint. So we may not exactly be sampling any instrument or anything, but you'll at least see how that function works. So anyway, here we go. Okay, so one thing I did is I got smart about this. I decided to use this workspaces option here, where basically I have a desktop here for our folder. As you see, episode 7 folder basically has all the things that we've made thus far, all in this folder. The modules file is what I have open, but coming up within it as an abstraction is our new virtual tape looper right here. So the virtual looper comes up in an abstraction, but we still need the modules folder because the modules patch, because that's where the analog to digital converter and the digital to analog converter are. So we get sound in and sound out. And that I have in this workspace over here. I'm hoping to no longer have a cluttered desktop. So over here is where I have PD loaded up, and here's our modules patch. What I'm going to try to do now is open up this module that we're going to be working with, the tape looper, and I'm going to try to put it in its own window here. Well, not window, but this is going beyond windows. This is going into workspaces. So there we go. So we have a less cluttered screen. So here's our virtual tape looper that's within modules. Now I haven't done anything to the patch since the last time. We're going to do all that together now. But what I did do is in PD playback, it bothered me last time that the pack command leading to the line tilde, which gives you like a sloping in and out of sound for our muting functions down here at the bottom. It bothered me that that didn't quite work out. At least it didn't seem it was working. I don't feel like going back to the video and checking out why, but I pretty much thought it was working just right. But before I started this video, I popped it in, and it was working this time. Although I used one pack F50 for one line tilde. Basically, we'll see. We'll probably be adding that in this time and so forth. But first, all right, I'm going to close that. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it graphically first. Let's see if we can get a little bit of room here, a little more room, by taking these objects and moving them down a little further here. And then I want room for a slider above and below this. Now I am going to see what is the length of this window. not this menu, but in the properties, in this menu, we see its width in pixels. It's 300 wide by 100 tall. 300 wide is what we need to know. Hold on, let me double check that. Yep, 300. Okay, so I guess the overall width is about 320 for this whole module. I know it's 240 tall. Okay, so we're going to make two sliders. Well, let's make one first. It's Control-Shift-J in PD Vanilla, Command-Shift-J in Mac. And what we're going to make here, we're going to go to its properties. We're going to make it 300 wide. And we're going to let its range be 0 to 1, although, as you'll see, this will vary. This is going to be our starting point for the looped region. And so we might as well call this left. We're going to call it loop. Make sure I type that right. LOOP _ left. Well, how about we just do L? Just so we don't make these symbols too long. I do make long symbols. And we call it send because that's the send symbol. Here, $0 _ loop _R. No, that's the next slider. Loop left _ RECV. And we might as well label it. To save space, I think I'll put, well, let's see if it fits in. We'll type left. Okay, and then I guess I'll give it some color here. I don't know. Those are, yeah, see, it doesn't quite fit in there with all the labeling. I can also change the height of this. We actually want the slider to be thick enough that it'll be easy to grab. Maybe I'll make it 10 pixels tall so the slider fits in better. But maybe what we can do here is make our height 80 pixels per waveform. So that way we might be able to fit this in here. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to make these sliders. It's the horizontal slider, its height is here. Make it 15. It looked like it was saying 19 there. 15. Now, what I'm lining up is the back end here with the table's back end. And what you can do when it's selected like this, you can use the arrow keys left and right to kind of move it little bits at a time. Right there seems to be lined up. Because this end won't line up. There's always going to be a little bit of a extra bit at the end because that's where the sliders, the actual sliding mechanism of the slider is. So, okay. Can beautify things later. Let's just move on here. I'm going to duplicate this slider and put it down here. This will be for the right end. And in the interest of time, I am not going to make these line up exactly just right. Just it'd be nice if people in my classes do that, but I'm not going to make it line up just exactly right because that'll just take more time away from the actual lesson. Now, you see how I'm changing the L out here for an R because this is going to be the right side. That's all we need to change in it. So now we have these two sliders, and the idea is if I go into run mode by hitting Control E, we could set a loop point like this, where basically when you press play with loop selected, it will play up to here, and then to here, and then swing around down to here, go forward again, and then swing back down here. And so it'll be rewinding each time to this left loop point. And then when you release the loop toggle down there, it can play to the end and stop. So it still has a start and stop, but we have our left and right M points for looping, basically, as long as the loop toggle is selected. I think what I'll do here is just briefly, this won't take long, I'll make it 60 in height. That'll give us enough room for all these labels. I mean, you could change the font size of the labels and do all sorts of things to make things look nice. I am eventually, after this series, going to start making my own modular system again like I used to in LWM Music when I was going strong on that channel. I want to make a series of modules again, but I'll probably start them over. The videos won't be me starting from scratch, but there'll be videos of my modules and me giving a tour of them as I make them one by one. Because by that point, people who wanted to learn doing and constructing and learn the basics of pure data have done so in these first two series. In the series 3, it won't be step by step anymore. Okay, so anyway, now that we have these made, there's something we want to do here in loading. We want to put these, give these sliders their preliminary setup. And so that means we'll probably be adding to this. What we're going to need really is to have, really what I'm going to do is just add a little extra feature here, because when this opens up, all sliders are just going to be like that. And I just like this to be at the end of the slider. Plus, I want to give these sliders a range to begin with, so that way they, each time it starts, they'll be in a set state. And I'll show you what I mean, because the range of these sliders is going to change as we do things. So what I'm going to do here is add 2 more bangs to this. Oh, what did I do? What did I do? I just went to, I was holding down the wrong keys and I hit a shortcut that went to the wrong window there. Sorry about that. But here we go. And this is where we're going to see how we can control these sliders and change their features, basically. I'm going to add 2 extra bangs. All right, now that means these bangs, the order here, I guess it isn't crucial, but I still like to do that anyway. Since things operate right to left in pure data, I'd like to make sure the PD DSP1 is first. Sound gets turned on and it's running, so nobody has to hit the DSP on button in order to get things going. It's ready to go right from the beginning. Oops, undo that little errant drag there. Sending this 0 to playback speed receive means that playback speed slider is going to zero out. Now 0 is its middle, meaning not sped up, not slowed down, right in the middle. Normal rate. I just like to have it look that way when it starts, so that way, you know, the user sees it in the middle position when they start, right there. And then we have to give an initial normal playback speed, which then, later we use as a way to adjust the playback speed. These are our default values, basically. And I'd like these sliders to have defaults as well. So I'm going to put these in. So I'm just going to pause a moment here. Okay, so I'm back here. I just wanted to set this up instead of just slowly doing it while you're watching. I had one of these bangs hooked up doubly here, so I fixed that. So if you see me do that before I fix that, it's not absolutely necessary. In fact, you could have coming from this bang or just a straight from the low bang itself, all these cables go into different things. All those bangs will still get there. I just like to have it more organized. This is almost like a cable organizer sort of thing, just to make sure it's easier to read, I think. And so if somebody's like taking a look at this patch, they're able to read it better. But this is what I added with the 2 extra bangs that we made on the trigger bang sequence there. I made a second trigger bang here, TBB, just to divide this up into 2. Now, what are we doing here? Well, we have a message here that says range 01, and we're sending it through this send to $0 loop R receive. So the orange one here is receiving its range of 0 to 1, and then it will also receive its message of just simply 1, which tells it that's the value it should be. And then here I sent the range of 0 to 1 to, the same one. So let's take out this R and put in an L. So that way the range of this slider will be set. Because in the functioning of this patch, we're going to be changing the ranges of these so that when we drag around these sliders, we're actually setting values that are in line with their position on the waveform, like that point in time on the waveform. So we'll be changing their ranges as we go. And then when the patch gets saved after that, those ranges stick. Like the sliders range are values that will stick. So from a previous time that someone uses this patch, those range values will stay. And of course, when you start up again, we're basically just resetting them. We're making sure the ranges are going to be 0 to 1, and this first one's at 1. I mean, the right, or, the end of the loop point is going to be 1. And then this one, we just need to send its range because sliders by default, when they open up, will be at 0. And that's where we want it to be, so that's fine. Basically, this is going to be all the way across. This one's going to be here, so visually someone knows that this is the one for the beginning, this is the one for the end. That's what we're really doing here. But just to test this, we're going to go here in properties, and you can do this too, just to debug it. Set it to 127. Set this to 0 to 127. And then, here, let's just even move them like in the middle. And make sure that when we hit this bang, pretending like it was a load bang, like this patch has just been loaded, got to be in run mode, hit it. Well, wait a minute, this one went to 1. So something ain't right there. Let's look at these properties, see what's happened. So we're going here to the right one. Its range is 0 to 1. That's good. It got the correct range. This one's range is 0 to 1. You know what? It may have just moved over like that because maybe the slider wasn't all the way to the left. I might have bumped it and it might have been at 1. But you know what? Even though the slider's current values don't stay the same, like when you close a patch, I'm just going to be doubly secure here. Let's put in a TBB. Easy enough to do. So that this gets banged, And then also a message gets banged of the value 0. And it hooked that up for me there. How nice of it. There we go. And then we hook this bang up here. And all we should see happen here when we hit this is the yellow slider should go to 0. Right? I did type in a 0 there, right? Yep, there we go. So now when we start up, this will be the slider's positionings. And 0 to 1 will be their ranges. That's going to change. So we're done with our loading preferences here. What we're going to do next is in calculations. This is where our range of the sliders will be calculated, just like everything else gets calculated in here. I'm just going to spread this out, make sure we have enough room. Keep it all on screen though. Yeah, we're probably going to move downward with this. All right. Like here, the calculations are made when sampling rate comes in, it's there. And then when the sample size comes in, it calculates the duration, which we have expressed in seconds. But we did all this to make sure there's only one number past a decimal point. That gives us enough accuracy, and actually it allows the way we're using Metro and Moses and stuff for things to be detected more easily. So that's how we got that calculation going. And in the middle, we have this thing where our playback speed, our normal playback speed comes in, and then the positioning of the slider calculates how the playback speed's really going to be as you move the slider. And then over here, we have some things for positioning things. Actually, yeah, I put that the loading over there, but this is where, like, as soon as the samples, the normal playback speed is calculated, meaning after something's recorded, this gets calculated, this comes in. It just tells the slider to go to 0, because maybe you were just using it before and then you load something new in, you record something new in, well, it should 0 out again. And that's all this stuff here, and this is where the reset button zeroes it out. So in this patch is where we should put our calculations of other things. Like, first of all, when something gets recorded in and we get our duration here, we're going to put a little receive $0 underscore duration. So whenever duration gets calculated, it'll get it here, and it'll just trigger some things to happen. I know I could connect this straight up here, but remember this duration needs to be sent to playback as well. So we need a wireless send here, and then we're just going to put a wireless receive here just so that, you know, when someone's looking through the patch, it'll just make sense that, okay, when duration is calculated, this is what's going to happen. Okay, well, we'll change the range of both sliders to be what the duration would be. Okay, so we're going to put a message box here. I believe we can hook it up, because both sliders are going to get the same ranges. But the one slider is going to get a bit of other information, so yeah, I'll see how to set that up in a moment. But basically, our duration is going to come in, and so we want to say range 0 $1, which means whatever number is coming in, that duration is going to be the range of the slider. And we're actually going to trigger something to happen here. So what this thing is sending is a message here. Hold on here. I'm just thinking what's the best way to patch this. And what we're going to want to do is make a trigger bang, float F. That's just a placeholder for this number because the duration's a floating point number, so it's going to go to here. And then to the right, we're going to actually do another float. The duration's going to be used twice. So the bang is going to go to this message here to tell that left slider that as soon as something new gets recorded, because maybe you were recording before and something else happens, we want to reset it. We want to put it at 0. Oh, and actually I need to reverse these. Hold on just a second. Trigger, bang, bang, float. And I'll explain why in just a moment. No, wait a minute. Those were 2 floats, weren't they? Didn't I just do something stupid there? Yeah. Well, hey, that happens. That happens. But the first thing that's going to be sent is range. That's why we're hooking this up to the rightmost outlet of this. Trigger, bang, float, float. So the duration comes through. This will be the first thing sent. I'm just trying to organize here, and I probably should just put things in and then organize it afterwards. All right, $1. The duration comes straight out here. Okay, and then we're going to put down here, send $0 underscore loop underscore L underscore receive. So it's going to receive that. And then there's going to, let's just duplicate this so we can make up the one for the right end. And the right is going to receive this. Basically, these values, just when you send, because these are both numbers. When you have a message box with a number and you send it straight to a slider or something, it's just going to go to that number. But when you send a message that says range and then 2 numbers, it's going to define its range by those 2 numbers that you send it. So we want this to happen first. Give these things their ranges and then tell the right one to go to the duration. Duration is going to be where it's going to be at, and the left is going to be at 0. The reason why I put it in this order is the range needs to be given to the right slider before the duration could be sent to it. Because if you send a duration that's outside of its range before you change it, it won't work. So that has to be in a right to left order there. So I'm going to save this, close this, and what we're going to do is record. This is a test. This is only a test. Now let's see what the range of this slider is. Oh, it is at 3.4. And this should be 3.4 as well. So that was about 3.4 seconds long was that sample. So now this is at 3.4 seconds long. Both of these go from 0 in time to the length of 3.4 seconds, which is this clip. And we've made it such that it's always adjustable. Now we need to do our looping, but put it as something that's within this range. Right now, it's when you have the loop checked off here, it's going to loop between the end back to the beginning. And we got to change that. So we're going to do here, we're going to do open. And I know already we're going to need a little bit more room on this left side because it's something we're going to do. So I'm selecting all. I'm just dragging over. There we go. That should be enough space. Everything's on screen. Yep. All right, good. Now what we're going to need is a different kind of rewind. This rewind here comes from hitting the rewind button on the interface. We always want that to go to 0. When you hit rewind there, it means go to the beginning. Okay? But when we're looping, we don't want it to rewind to the beginning. Although we have it set up that way. So we're going to have to change some of this stuff here. But what we want to do is set up another rewind. And we'll call this rewind loop. Or loop rewind. Receive $0 underscore loop rewind. All right. That's going to be a signal to rewind to what point? Well, it's going to be wherever this thing is at. And now it has a send that's named, I'm going to pop this up here, $0 underscore loop underscore L underscore send. Well, we actually need to type the R for receive, $0 underscore loop underscore L underscore RECV. There we go. That is the receive of our loop. I'll put it below it, like right here. And this is going to come into a float in the right inlet. A float is a container, basically, for a number when you put it in the right inlet. When you put it in the left inlet, it goes straight through. But when you put it in the right, it stores it until a bang comes through. And this will be our bang. Our loop rewind will be a bang signal to tell it when to shoot this number out. And it's going to shoot its number out to the same places where the rewind is shooting its 0 out. So instead of 0, this rewind is going to send us to the wherever the left slider is set at. And remember, it needs to go to both places here, the right inlet of float and the inlet of this number box here. Found out last time that helped eliminate some of the rewind sound. Okay, so there we go. We got that set up. Now, we got to change our mechanism over here. Because right now what it's doing is it's using duration, which comes into the right inlet of Moses. When the numbers streaming through here reach the end of the duration, meaning the end in seconds of the sample, it triggers a bang to happen. And the way we have it set is it bangs this float through to select that determines whether loop is on or off. Because this receives from our loop toggle on the front, you know. So when it's on, it's a 1, and that means go and do this stuff. And it's off, it's a 0, go and do this stuff. But what we're going to have is we got to do this differently now. And that's why I'm going to need some more space down here. Let's move it down. We have an either or. Oh boy, come on. Select this. Move it down. I want to make sure I stay on screen. I got off screen there. That should give us enough space, I hope. All right. So anyway, we're going to move this down. And what we're going to have happen now, we're going to disconnect these cables here. When it gets to the end now, like duration is still the end. When it gets to the end, it's still going to trigger this bang for everything to stop Okay, let's just position it in here. Basically, it's going to turn off the play button. It's going to execute play stop, which is up here, which turns on the mute, and it also stops the playback because it bangs over here to stop the playback mechanism. So basically, play stop does both those things. And then it rewinds it to the beginning, just so when you press play again, it's playing from the beginning. So that's going to happen whenever you get to the end now, all the time. The loop's going to happen oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold on to those horses. We are going to have a determination here. What if the person has the slider, the right slider, all the way at the end? Well, then we're going to have to keep doing what we're doing. So we're going to reconnect these. Sorry about that, folks. We're going to reconnect these. So, no, this doesn't connect here. We're going to go up here. If loop is on and it reaches the end, now here's the thing. Do we still want it to loop? Well, the only time we want it to loop when it reaches the end is if the duration is the same as, what do you call it? The right side, basically the end point of the loop. So I am going to pause the video here a second. I want to think what's the best way of doing this. Okay, came right back. Didn't take me long to figure this out. So what we're going to do here is select 0, 1. The 0 still goes to this to stop. Trigger is still hooked up to the left of the float, so that if loop is on, if it's off, this happens. If it's on, it's going to go through another test. It's going to go up to this select object I just made. Now this select object says select 1. The reason for the 1 is so there was a placeholder so it would create one right inlet over here. Actually, I guess it would have anyway, but the 1 doesn't really mean anything because this is going to receive loop R send. Okay? So the loop R send, and this should get triggered when the loop is, like when you record, remember the things that we did in calculations where the duration gets set as the endpoint or where the loop slider should be at that point, it should come through here. So it's going to default to that. And if someone leaves it there, it'll be fine. Or moves it back there, it'll be fine. This will receive where the position of that slider is. And if it is at this is the wrong thing to be sending out here. Hold on a second. What we want is duration to come out. So what we're going to do here for this outlet, we're going to compare duration to where loop right is at. I'm sorry, this needs to be received, not a send. So they get compared right here. But the way they get compared is we got to have this one stored in a float box. So this number hangs out here. And then gets banged in when this happens. So loop is on. Okay, we've reached the end. The loop is on. And now here's the thing. We got to determine if this number here, this loop right, the right slider, is at the end. If it's at the duration, then a bang comes out here and we can go looping around. We're cool. But if it is not, a number comes out here. Like whatever number is being banged through, if it's not this number, it comes out here. But we don't need a number at this point. We just need to trigger a bang to tell it to stop. It's like the loop point is not at the end. So even though we got to the end, and we shouldn't have, really, if you think about it. Actually, I think I'll just leave this dangle out here, because if this is not at the end, it has to be somewhere before that. So the determination to loop's already been made. But the thing is, if we got to the end here, basically, we don't want it to loop. I mean, this shouldn't happen. In other words, this is just a fail-safe. And we don't want it to loop unless, they match. We'll see how that works. But logically, that should work out, But we'll see. I am not perfect, never claimed to be. All right, so let's move this up. No, we don't need to move it up. Let's, we need another determination here. We need a second Moses. And this one's going to receive $0 underscore loop underscore R underscore send. So since the loop endpoint should happen before duration, or they'll happen at the same time if it's still there. I mean, we'll see if this batching was even necessary. I don't know. Because if it's already there, this should catch it ahead of time. But this is our fail-safe. This is our fail-safe to say, okay, loop it because that slider is at the end. Don't just stop, I don't know. That may not be necessary now that I think about it, because if it's not at the end, it should be caught here. So I'll leave this in, and then what we'll do is I'll try taking it out later. I'll just cut it and then Control Z and put it back in if we do need it. But anyway, here. So Moses is now comparing it to this. Now, if this loop section, if you don't have loop on, that slider shouldn't mean anything. So we're going to have this again. We're going to have it determine. Grab the blue. Whenever you do that duplicate, grab the blue selected stuff. Otherwise, you have a mess to work out. So it's going to make that determination. Now, this time, if a loop's off, it's not going to send a bang out here to stop, because that should happen when it reaches the end. You could have this slider somewhere before the end, but loops off, it's not going to loop. It'll just keep playing to the end. So this 0 outlet goes nowhere. This 1 outlet should go right here to this thing we set up for looping. So there we go. We have our determination of when it hits the loop point to do the looping. And then we're going to see, we may not then need a determination at the end, but the thing is, yeah, this should catch it. Like if this is left at the end, somebody leaves a slider right at the end, it should loop from the end because this should catch it first before it goes here. But I'm going to leave this in for right now anyway, just to see. But this is hooked up, so we should loop when we hit the slider. Now, where do we loop back to? We want to loop back to here, so we need to initiate the loop rewind. So let's go through the steps here of looping. Turn off the play button, that's still fine. Play stop is still fine. Rewind receive is not still fine because we're not going to do the same kind of rewind. Now we're going to do loop rewind. Loop, and it's just called loop underscore rewind. So there we go. So this will execute that loop rewind that'll go back to loop L. And then we have this here that it sends a bang to the rewind button to make it bang. That's fine. I mean, it's just a visual thing here. It's just to make that bang flicker. Here, this is playback speed, determining how long it takes before we start up again. And this play receive is just turning that button back on. That toggle, just visually have the checkbox in it so it's back on. And this executes play start. Now play start just unmutes and also play start is up here where basically it bangs the metro to keep going. So the numbers would already have come in from rewind loop. And so that play start should go. This should work. We're going to test it though. And we still have, remember in the other workspace, I do have modules here open. So modules is open. So the ADC and the DAC are connected. So I can just cue things from here. All right, let's just pretend we're starting over. So we go to loading, hit this bang as if the patch just opened, even though there's audio sitting in there. We are going to record new audio and see if this loops. Let's give it a little bit of time so we can do some testing if we need to. Now I have loop on. Let's see what happens when it gets to the end. Does it loop? Because I'm leaving this slider here. Well, actually, no. Let's do this test first. Let's put the loop here. And here. It'll be clear that we're not at the beginning or the end. All right, so let's go. See if this loops. Let's give it a little bit of time. So, all right. Now hold on here. I unchecked loop and I'm checking again. That's one thing that I forgot. This never got sent to our mechanisms in playback that receives whether loop is on or off. So it didn't know. We can rewind to the beginning and play. We are going to record new audio and see if this loops. Let's give it a little bit of time. So, it stops here. It didn't go back to the beginning. All right. So what's happening here is it's getting to this Moses and it didn't get to the end. And here it basically, this is where you do really need a trigger. Remember, what comes out the right outlet of Moses will be the number that's coming into its right inlet. Like it's anything below passes through the left, anything equal to or above this number will come out the right. So a number was coming out here, and it was sending a float down here. And then with select 01, it would have been coming out the right outlet, which shouldn't connect to anything. So basically nothing was happening. Let's try again. We are going to record new audio and see if this loops. Let's give it a little bit of time. So now, oh, brother. I've made one of these before. Oh, look, this counter's still going. Yeah, it's going way past. So it passed stop. It passed here, too. So it passed duration as well as the loop R. But here's where it kind of stopped. This seemed to throw it off. So what happens? It bangs and it says, all right, let's take this loop send in here. Is loop on? If it is, go here. If it's not, nothing should really happen. So that's why we don't have the first outlet hooked up to anything here, just the middle one. So if loop is on, and it is, and let's have a typo here. Yeah, this is just a quick way to test because sometimes my eyes can fool me. Let's just turn it off, turn it back on. Yeah, one is coming through. So yeah, so it's coming through. One is coming through. This gets banged in. It should say 1. And this is connected to the middle outlet here, which is 1. And then here it triggers these things to happen. 0. Turn off the play button. And then play stop happens. Well, we certainly did stop. And then loop rewind. Just typed correctly. LOOP_REWIND. Well, first of all, this probably never worked because this says rewind send. This is a mistake I've had from the beginning, but it didn't really stop anything from working. But basically, this was just to bang the button so visually it would bang. But I have a feeling that might also send out a bang again. I'm going to delete this for now. I don't think that's a good idea. So here we go to loop, rewind. In fact, that could have been messing everything up. $0 playback speed. Coming in here for the delay of when to start up again. And this is just turning that toggle on. And this is play start. Let's check our loop rewind over here. For loop _rewind. And it is a bang coming in to bang this float. $0 loop L receive. No. Send. Somebody probably saw that and said, how long is it going to take him to figure this out? That's why I do these debugging sessions also, is for you to kind of learn how to debug. Follow the signal flow. Okay, let's rewind. We're going to record again, and this time we're going to see if it works. Loop, make sure it's on. And let's put you guys here and here. We're going to record again, and this time we're going to, 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 and this time. Okay, good. Let's rewind to the beginning. Now let's see what happens if I leave this at the end. We're going to record again, and this time we're going to see if it works. And this time we're going to see if it works. And this time we're going to see if it works. All right, now what I'm going to do and see if we need this patching I put here. So what I'm going to do is just remember this is connected to here. This is connected to the middle outlet there. So we just go Control X, cut, Command X of Mac, and then we could paste it right back in. This doesn't work. We're going to record again, and this time we're going to see if it works. And this time we're going to see, yep, we don't need it. So that is out of here. That is out of here. Okay, and so here, but I think we still need the selects in here because, or maybe not, you know, maybe we don't need to determine if the loop is on here anymore, because if it gets to the end, since this is after this, if the end is where the slider's at, this would have already caught it. Now let's just leave it in. Let's not mess with something that's working, excuse me. So the next and last thing I want to do is put the line tildes in. So this is where we gotta be careful about a couple things in trying to avoid that rewind sound. The line tilde things that I keep talking about, that I tried to put in last time and just weren't working for some reason, are there to kind of give you a slope in and out. Right now we hear kind of like more of a sudden stop and stuff. So what we're going to have is a slope in and out for this thing here. And so we're going to have to set up a series of delays here in other sections. But basically, if you put, I'm going to put pack F100, because 100 is the initial playback speed time. Remember, the playback speed time is almost like our click track that is pushing the thing forward. And as we change the playback speed, that changes. So here we're going to receive $0 underscore playback speed. And this is going to determine how long it takes for the mutes to happen. Basically, since this is a star tilde here, this 1 will come through. And whatever value was here before in, oh, I forgot to put the line object in. Hold on, let me do that. The pack F50 is just putting things together as a single message. But what it's going to is a line tilde that will basically do this over the audio rate. So over the audio rate, it'll go to either 1 or 0 over this amount of time, because it's sending the number in the packed message of 1 or 0, on or off, over 100 milliseconds is how long it's supposed to take to get there. And line tilde does the calculations to do that. And so we connect these two up here. So by default, it's going to be 100 milliseconds, but that's changeable according to our playback speed. Now, what we're going to do here, and this will help make our next time easier too, we want to see what stuff happens here. Okay, so that turns off the play button. That's fine. It shouldn't cause any trouble. And then playback stops. That should happen right away, you know. But loop rewind, we don't want that to happen right away. We don't want it rewinding to the beginning until the mute is finished doing it. And the mute is going to take the amount of time of playback speed. But we could type delay 100, so it has a default. It is our default. We're going to have a receive $0 underscore playback speed that will go into its right inlet. So there we go. That's the next thing that happens. All right. And so this delay will delay by default 100 milliseconds. And then it rewinds. And then the thing that happens is it's going to be 100 seconds for it to mute. 100 seconds, 100 milliseconds for it to mute. Then it'll take 100 milliseconds for the rewind to finish. Or the playback speed, whichever one. And so that's like 2. So we got to wait at least twice the amount of time of playback speed to do the rest of this stuff. I am going to make this neat. Sorry, I am anal, so I'm going to get rid of the extra bang. And then hook these things up right. Because we don't need the extra bang. There we go. One thing I'm curious about. Example. This is just a test here. If I send a 1 to play receive, well, I got to make it a send first of all. What the heck? I didn't put the $0 in. That would have something to do with it. If it works. Alrighty, folks. We don't need some of this. Send $0 play receive. This is enough to stop it. So we can get rid of. Here, we're going to see how many bangs we need. This stops it. We don't need to send something to play stop also. That was double duty. We do need to send something to rewind. And then we don't need something being sent to play start. It can just go to play receive. Basically, that will start it up again. We had extra stuff last time, and I thought I did. I was like, I shouldn't have to. There was something about last time. Quirky stuff happened. My line tildes weren't working out. Something was wrong. All right. Here we go. Now, this, remember, we're going to put it in a default of 200. It's got to wait 100 milliseconds for the mute. It's got to wait 100 milliseconds for the rewind. And then it can start ramping up again. But what we got to do here is make sure that whatever our playback speed is, because 100 milliseconds is just a start, our playback speed is going to just need to be doubled. because that's how much time is taking place for the other stuff to happen. Okay, so then we just need a trigger with 3 bangs. But here we have, because we can send to the play button, we're basically stopping and starting, without any trouble. But now we do need to hook this up to the middle outlet here. There we go. Now, just to make sure all values that we need have been sent, I'm going to hit Control S to save here with that window closed. Let's just start from the beginning. All right. We're starting over here, and hopefully we can call it a day. The loop needs to be sent. Now the play button's not working. What? What did I do? I didn't mess with that. I was just over here. Working with this stuff. I didn't do anything to play. Here's play send. It comes in right here. Let's record again just for good luck. This doesn't make sense. I didn't mess with any of that. Hold on. I bet it has something to do with muting. I bet it has something to do with muting. Don't tell me it's just the same thing again. Something wrong with the line tilde. I'm just going to hook this one up here. If I hear sound, no. Oh my God. This was stuff I changed, so that might have had something to do with it, I thought, but here, this is what I can do as a test. I'm going to keep this patching together here because I do want to use it. But I want to test if it's this stuff. This I know is correct. This is the way it is done. But now let's try it here. Let's record again just for good luck. Let's record again just for good luck. Uh-huh. I'm gonna like set these. Let's record again just for good luck. All right, am I getting the whole clip here? 1, 2, 3. 3. It's not starting at the beginning. Well, did I have that on while I was recording? Let's see if this works. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if this works. 1, 2, 3. Loop is on. We got to go back to the beginning. Let's see if this works. 1, 2, 3. We're not looping anymore. I had it working. This is for play receive. This is for play receive. We shouldn't need a play start and a play stop. Wait a minute here. Oh, no. I see now. I see. All right, folks. Okay, I see here. We can hook this back up. It wasn't this thing's fault. That's why we needed, I know there's a reason why I had play stop and play start in addition to sending to the actual play button itself. Because up here, the play button itself will send to play stop and play start, and then they do the mutes. Okay, I need to pause again. Something fishy going on here. Okay, I am back. It was really just a stupid mistake. So we look at this section. It's like I changed it before. 3 bangs, a 0 going to send $0 play receive. And here we have the playback speed fed into the delay, 100, and the bang going it to do loop rewind. And then here, finally, to start playing again by just sending a 1 to play receive. We didn't need play stop. We didn't need play start. Those weren't the problems. Here is what I was doing wrong after I had fixed some things here. I had this connected up to this select here instead of this one. Basically, the loop section should be fed by a determination if it's gotten to the right slider, basically the end slider, the endpoint slider. If it has, then this gets done. And this point, the end of the duration of all playback, is all that goes to this section here, which is our stop. Maybe I can make it look a little bit nicer here. There we go. And you'll be pleased to know that our line tilde operation does work out. It's working fine. So this is how this section looks. This is how this section looks. I didn't need to change anything anywhere else. I just noticed that this cable was actually connected to here instead of here. The mute is working just fine as intended. It was just some other brain fart that screwed it all up. So anyway, I am going to test it now, although I already have. Hello, let us test this all again. Sure, uncheck loop and then check it again, because just to make sure it went through. Let's test this all again. Hello, let us 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 test this all. Now there's only one thing that we need to fix, and that is the following. Whenever I record a new thing, I want to make sure the first time it plays from 0. So basically here in recording, let me open it. Where is recording? Don't tell me it went to one of my other display things. Oh, for crying out loud. Let me go here and see. Man, I just have the worst luck, man. No, I'm seeing over here, it's not in these screens. It's not in the other workspaces. Let me go back to the first one again. That's what happens when you use multiple displays also. Yeah, it's somehow not only on my second display, which you guys aren't seeing, it was like way shoved over in it. It made no sense whatsoever why that was there. Okay, all right. So here, record. Do we want it to have it happen here, or is this something that should be happening in calculation? Basically, it could be either place. Yeah, to make this more modular, yeah, let me just put it in calculations. But it was good for me to get that window back on this side, because now when I save it, it'll be here. All right, here, after the recording is when duration sent. So every time we record again, duration is sent. We could just add an extra bang here. Yep, it put an extra on the end. And all we got to do is bang $0 underscore rewind underscore receive. That means it'll light up too. And this is supposed to be a send, by the way. So after it's put into the table, one of the first things that happens is we do rewind to the beginning. Let's make sure that works by doing this. I am going to play all again. Hello, let us. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Now I'm going to record again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, yeah, 2. Because it wasn't starting at the beginning each time. Now it is. Thank goodness. Thank you. Thank you. We're done. We're done for tonight. Oh, that was a beast, I tell you. Next week it won't be as bad because we have all that rewind and loop stuff set up. We'll just be scrubbing. And it'll be a little bit easier, but we'll see. Anyway, folks, thank you for joining me. Until next time, stay free and take care.